All right. Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2024 President's Cup at the Royal Montreal Golf Club. On behalf of the PGA Tour, we are thrilled to be back in Montreal for the first time in 17 years and looking forward to a great week of competition between the international and U.S. teams. At this time, I'll turn it over to our captains for some opening comments, and then we'll take some questions. We'll start with international team captain Mike Weir, and then we'll go to U.S. team captain Jim Furyk. Mike?
Thanks, Stuart. Welcome everybody to Canada, to Montreal. As the international captain, I'm very, very excited to be representing those 12 players out there that I was just with. Being from here, from Canada, from Sarnia, dream come true really to be here, and just very excited to get this going. Against a good rival, good friend, Jim, Captain Furyk here. It's really exciting that we're getting close to being underway here in a couple of days, and really excited that it's kind of on the eve almost now of getting started. So it's been a lot of preparation we've done for a couple of years, and now we're finally here. So excited to get started.
I agree. Same with Mike. We've been friends for a long time, same age, played some college golf together, our whole careers together. So wonderful to be here. I've got some great memories from the RBC Canadian Open, 06, 07. Feel like, I realize this is Mr. Golf in Canada, right? The whole world, the golfing world revolves around Mike up here in Canada, as well deserved with the Masters champion. But always felt like I got treated really well here, being a two-time winner. We're very aware that we're in an away game. We're very aware that 99% of this crowd's not going to be pulling for us. And, I'm excited about the 12 guys I got. I think they really they like that atmosphere, and they have to be ready for it because, like I said, the whole world's going to be pulling for us. And so our mentality is a little bit of we're a group of about 75. If you look at our team, our caddies, the wives, the physios, our stats team, you look at kind of a group of about 75, and we kind of feel like it's us versus the world this week. And so we're thrilled to get out here, and it's going to be a great competition.
Great. As always, please raise your hands. If you have a question, we'll make sure you get a mic so your question can be heard in the room. We have two people handing out mics on the sides. FD?
Well, that was quick. You ready to go?
Raise your hand, please, if you have a question. Well, there you go. We'll get it to you.
From the Journal of Montreal. Question for Mike. If you can identify a few challenges for your team this week, what would they are?
Some challenges? I mean, Jim has a great team. They've got great players over there, and there's always going to be difficult matchups. And I don't know if there's anything in particular. We don't know how the matches are going to shape up. How the matchups are going to shake out, so to speak. Come Wednesday night, you guys will know. And but golf's golf, and they're going to be challenging matches no matter what. The odd time there's a team runs away with a match here and there, but most of the matches are always tight. I think the golf course presents a great challenge to all the guys, but it brings in a great mix of players. I believe that's what, to me, is the sign of a great golf course, is that, I think, did you win here, Jim?
I did not.
But like Scott Verplank, players that, probably hit the ball the same our length, won here a number of times, but advantageous to long players too, and it's just a great golf course that way, that all players can be relevant around this place.
Daniel Shaw, the next question for Mike. Can you explain to us a little bit how much the crowd can be impactful in a sport where you still need to stay calm and focus, and how much the crowd can help the players?
Yeah, it's a big part of this competition, I believe, and big part of team golf, where you can ride some momentum and the crowd gets behind you, and you can really feed off that. I certainly did here in 2007. Not only with my match playing Tiger, but just the other matches. You get the crowd energy, and you can raise your level a little bit. So it can be a huge factor. We're certainly hoping that the fans come out hard and to cheer loud for our guys, and hopefully it is a factor.
If you could hand the mic 2 rows up to John, please. We'll go John, Bradley, then Adam.
John Shabino, the Canadian Press. This question is for both Mike and Jim. lot's been made about the use of analytics and helping choose your teams. I'm just curious, when play actually begins, without maybe giving away any state secrets, how will you use analytics on a day-by-day or round-by-round basis?
You want to start, Vince?
Yeah, I'll go. I think, yeah, it had a lot to do with our picks. I think it also into pairings, matchups. I think there's a lot of different things it'll go into. From a day-to-day basis, Mike and I will be on the golf course, depending on whether we're on par threes, following. You can't follow 4 and 5 groups at a time. So I think we rely on what our analytics teams see out there on the golf course. But really, we both have some great assistant captains. And so they're our eyes, our ears. I get a lot of my information from those guys and rely heavily on what they see.
Yeah, and just to what Jim said, I think through the whole process for me in these last couple of years is relying on those numbers, relying on, having the ear of my 5 assistant captains and talking to them throughout this whole process helps with the pairings, helps with the picks. And same thing, once the guys get on the course, you start to maybe see some different things. And as Jim said, you as the captain, you're kind of roaming around a little bit more. So you have the guys out there to really keep a closer eye on maybe an individual match and give you that feedback. So you can make the adjustments if needed, so to speak.
Thanks.
Okay, can you give that to Bradley in front of you?
This question is for both of you guys. This being a U.S. presidential election year, and this being a President's Cup, it got me thinking about role models. So the question is, who's your role model and why?
Oh, wow. Want me to start that one? Or do you have someone in mind? I think I've got a few, but
Sure. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not sure how we got to politics. Like our role models as politicians or our role models in the game of golf?
However you want to answer.
Okay. I guess we're going to pick the same guy. I think for him it's Jack Nicklaus. So that would be. I've heard the story about the letter, and it's an amazing story. I think. How about I'll start, because I'm going to take Jack just because I played for him in 3 President's Cups. I saw how he integrated himself in the team and how it was amazing for us, for a much, much younger generation, to get to know a legend. And the more he got to know us, the more he really got involved with the teams and the pairings and how we went about our everyday kind of preparations. And so kind of being around the greatest player of all time, or arguably the greatest player of all time, and spending that time with he and Barbara, who's amazing, was absolutely wonderful. I think Mike would probably say the same thing. The greatest thing for me about these events, there's so many wonderful things about the President's Cup, the Ryder Cups, but it just brings together so many different generations. I mean, I have guys that are on my team that are very similar age to my kids, and I've also shared a lot of time with Jack Nicklaus and have pretty much spanned about a 60-year gap in golf, and that's just to be able to bridge those gaps and those generations has been wonderful. But Jack's been my idol.
Yeah. To Jim's point, obviously Jack for me as well. For those of you who don't know, I wrote a letter to Jack when I was young, lefty. There wasn't many tour players. He said, I thought maybe I should switch to right-handed. He said, stick to left-handed. So it's been a nice story. We've been able to go back and forth with. I brought the letter to Memorial at Jack's event, and he's always gotten a kick out of that. So they've been wonderful to me, he and Barbara, and just such a class guy. But, I'll go on the international side. Gary Player, getting to know him through the Masters, being around him as the captain down in South Africa for the first time, and then being here and in 2005 as well, and then 2007. So 3 times the captain, getting to know him a little bit better. And, what you see is what you get from Gary. It's real. He really lives that life. He's so positive all the time. And he's got a big, huge heart, which I love, and he loves his guys, and I've kind of tried to bring that with our guys. Like Jim said, you have so many great memories of these teams. I certainly do. And memories that last a lifetime, friendships that last a lifetime. So that's one of the special things about these team events.
Just a quick follow-up. Do you guys feel an obligation to be a role model?
Yes.
Yeah. Tried to do my best. Don't fall short a lot of the times, but tried to.
Okay, we're going to go over to this side. We'll go Adam, then Bob, then Mark, then Ben.
Just a question for Mike. Yeah, Mike. I think one of the challenges that you talked about, or international captains have talked about, is kind of uniting all the nations and languages, et cetera, under the Shield banner. How would you describe the vibe of your team right now? It does seem like they've gotten together pretty quickly, but how would you describe the team togetherness at this point as you stare the first day of matches in the face here?
Yeah, it's something that's been maybe a challenge for our teams over the years, but I think, you know, what Ernie created in 2019 with the Shield, and a lot of things we've implemented team-wise, just team dinners, guys playing practice rounds together, getting together with one another a lot more. That gap has shrunk quite a bit, and the guys really interact with each other a lot more. I've learned a lot through some coaches that I've talked to, some Team Canada coaches. You know, Ken Hitchcock, we had up here a couple weeks ago. We had Coach Cooper, John Cooper from Tampa in. He's going to be the next, obviously, Team Canada coach. And just talking to them, you know, they get a bunch of different cultures on a hockey team, right? So learning from those guys and trying to implement some of those things to our team, because it's different than the U.S. team. It just is. I mean, it's just we have, obviously, all these cultural differences. So not that they don't have differences, too, but you know, ours is just some cultural things. And but it's gotten a lot better, and our guys have a great vibe going. I like where our team's heads are at right now.
Yeah, to Bob.
Jim, how does your Ryder Cup captaincy impact how you're handling it this time? And also, you know, it's been brought up many times, but it just seems there's such a difference between the way the U.S. plays in this event and the Ryder Cup. And do you have any theories?
I was asked that yesterday by the Golf Channel. Other than the theories are difficult. I was going to have a little fun. Brandel asked me that question and said that he's tried to explain it, and he said that he failed miserably probably in doing so. So I was going to poke fun and say I think that's the only time Brandel's ever said something like that, but just joking around. I told him the same exact thing. I said, Brandel, I could probably try to explain it, but I'm probably going to fail miserably as well. I think a lot of it is our team room looks different in both events. I think the guys put a lot of pressure on themselves. They try a little too hard. They push in the Ryder Cup. They want to prove everyone wrong, and sometimes maybe when you try too hard, you kind of get in your own way, if that makes sense. It's probably the best I could do. It used to always disappoint me in my era when we were accused of Americans as, you know, it was easy to say, well, we just didn't care, and you know, I saw grown men cry in the locker room after some of those events, and that always frustrated me, but there's not much you can do about it. I think you know, in this event, we've played a little bit more loose. We played a little bit more free. You know, the learning experiences, I think, from 18, I think both Mike and I would say it's very instrumental. The more times that you can be in those rooms, the more times you can be an assistant or a vice captain, the more times you get those opportunities, you grow and you kind of learn kind of the team experience, the bonding, and you get used to, you know, I didn't see a lot of golf in 18. I spent a lot of time on par 3. So, you know, I'll make some different changes. I'll run this team a little different. I'll draw some from some good experiences that we've had in the past. And the biggest question I always get asked from 18 is, would you, if you had a chance to go back and do something differently, would you? And it makes me, the first time I heard the question, I started laughing. My answer was very simple. How arrogant would you have to be to say, nope, we didn't win, but I wouldn't do anything different at all? Like, of course I would. You had to go back and change. And so trying to implement some of those changes and kind of put those in for 24 has been a kind of a big push for me.
Mark?
Question for Mike. Having competed here as a player in 2007, I'm just curious what feelings you experienced when you first returned to this property as a President's Cup captain, and is there anything from 07 you learned as a player which might help you this week as a captain?
Yeah, I think the first time I stepped back on the property knowing I was captain, you know, I guess well over a year ago, some of those memories, I guess, came back and made me reflect on how big the President's Cup has become since 2007, how much bigger it is. We we have these beautiful team cabins. The infrastructure of everything is just so much bigger now. Shows the growth of the game and shows how well the President's Cup is doing and growing. So that kind of stuck out to me is what I remember. I don't know if any of my experience as a player, you know, really has any influence on today's player. We might be able to give them a little, you know, heads up on a certain shot out there, and hey, I remember this shot played this way, and that Ernie was part of that team, Trevor, Jeff. So we all had some experience around here that we could share, but you know, not too much insight. You know, today's player, they need to get on the course, see the course, play it their way. And so, yeah, I don't think there's really a lot that I could give them golf course knowledge-wise that way.
Ben?
Mike, how much, if at all, have you lent into the underdog status that your team has over this competition?
Well, it's just, I think it's just fact. I mean, just dealing with reality. I think that's the thing for me, even as a player myself, is trying to deal with reality and what's in front of you. And no doubt, you know, that's what's in front of us. So, I mean, we got a tall challenge, but the guys are up for it and they're ready for it, and they're embracing that. So,
do you flip it as a chance to, I guess, be historic, be the team that breaks the drought, etc.?
I haven't given. I haven't told them that. You know, I'm trying to, again, keep them very focused and present on what's going on. And a lot of the guys, we got a lot of young guys on the team, and they're not remembering past, you know, defeats or anything like that. You know, I guess they hear it from y'all and they read about it, but you know, they're not very focused on that. And so yeah, not really leaning into that.
I just need to lean into the Japanese friends who wanted me to ask how Hideki and Shigeki are coming together as a group and what they're doing well in the team.
Yeah. Hideki's, you know, great. He's one of our leaders, obviously, and having Shigeki here, who was, you know, key in 1998, going 5-0 as a rookie to win, and seeing him, you know, we competed against Shigeki for many years, and to see his face again back has been great for us. I don't know if you've come across Shigeki yet.
Always a smile. I haven't seen him yet, but always a smile. Great
He's
guy.
such a great character, and so I think it puts a smile on Hideki's face, you know, and he's been the lone Japanese player here for all the times he's played, and you know, he might have some from his team with him, but he hasn't had a teammate, you know, there hasn't been two Japanese at the same time for him, and so to have Shigeki here for him is great. He's been fantastic in the team room. Everybody knows who Shigeki is. Even the young guys know who he is. We've showed some videos of they called him in Australia. They called him obviously the smiling assassin back then. So you know, he's a lighthearted guy and it's fun to be around.
Okay, we'll go over here. We're going to go Shane, then Doug, then Todd.
Question for Mike, and with apologies to Jim, because I know this is not your favorite perspective, but you talked about how big the President's Cup has become since 2007, but I'm one of those people who thinks it would be elevated another degree if the international team were to win. And I'm curious, as a captain, do you feel any sense of responsibility for that? And then I know you were an assistant to Ernie in Melbourne. You know, did he ever talk about that? Especially for the home captains, when you have this chance, does that register as something like we could make a big change to how people perceive this thing?
I would say that no, I haven't thought about that. Like, that's not on my radar to think that just because if I win or lose, or our team wins or loses, that it's going to change the outlook. All of us have been part of this, know how big it is, and I think Jim knows how close it's been the last few years. I mean, it's a tight, intense competition, and yeah, the score on the last bunch of years has looked, you know, it's gone the U.S.'s way, but they've been very competitive matches. I think here we are. Like I said, it's much bigger. I think as Ernie's talked about a lot of times, you know, we're hitting somewhere in 6 billion people around the world with the international team. Globally, it's huge. So I think it's just heading in the right direction no matter what happens. Sure, like, you know, as competitors, we want to win, but we're not putting any of that extra, like, we need to do this to elevate the event. There's been no pressure from the tour to say, hey, you international, you guys better win or something. There's been nothing like that. So it's just a great competition, and that's the way. We're not adding any layers on top of that.
Doug?
Jim, how'd you get Canley to wear a hat this week?
We finally found one that had that odd of a shape that would actually fit on there. No. I think a lot of it's our vendors. He wore a hat 2 years ago in Charlotte. We're wearing the same vendors with the PGA Tour, and he seems to be comfortable. But, you know, if my guys are comfortable in hats, they can wear hats. If they're not comfortable in hats, they can. Doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't work out too well for me. I'll just say, like, it would. My head will turn purple after a day. But I want them comfortable, and I think we would both say that the clothing this year. I don't know if my guys love it.
Yeah, same.
So,
guys are happy.
Guys are comfortable this year, which is really nice.
Question for both of you. In all your years in the President's Cup, in any role, what is the greatest moment of emotion or passion you've witnessed, whether yourself or seeing someone else?
I can start.
In this, go ahead.
I was going to say 2003 down in South Africa for me. I think watching Tiger and Ernie and not even participating. In fact, Jim and I played that.
That was a nerve-wracking day.
And it was just Tiger makes that putt in the dark and Ernie makes it on top of him, and talk about intensity. I mean, I just couldn't believe what probably those guys were going through in that moment. And that was, to me, the most intense thing that I've been part of in this event.
That was a heck of a moment. I'll say that. I think getting Gary and Jack together.
Yeah.
I've never been so nervous. I probably have never been that nervous on a golf course. And like you said, we weren't hitting a golf shot.
Yeah.
Just watching, at the time, probably the two best players in the world. So, cool moment. You know me, Doug. I like to ride defense and take the easy way out on a lot of questions. I think what makes this event so great is that you see players that are usually stoic, that don't fist pump, that don't show a lot of emotion, and they go bonkers. They run around a green, they fist pump, they're screaming at the top of their lungs. You can't hear them because the crowd's so loud. That's what makes these events so great, and I think that's why both sides and the players enjoy it so much.
Okay, we'll go back middle here.
Yeah, question for both of you. What are the subtleties about this type of tournament that you feel maybe you need to remind some of the guys that haven't played this type of tournament in the past, or not so much, that are important to look out for as opposed to a regular tournament on the PGA, I would say?
So you're saying like a first-timer coming in, or
I'm a first-timer, you guys that haven't played it many times.
Yeah.
What are the subtleties in a tournament like this that players need to keep in mind as opposed to a regular tournament?
I'd say it's just an extremely emotional week as far as there's ups, there's downs. The U.S. team gets on a run, then the international team gets on a run, and it's kind of a roller coaster ride all week. These guys expend a ton of energy, and it's amazing how much they eat while they're on the golf course to kind of refuel those calories. A lot of it's probably just letting them know how much it's a marathon and it's a week long, and make sure that you save some energy for the end and pace yourself on the way.
Not to copy Jim, but that's definitely what was running through my mind, is just the emotional ebbs and flows that happen throughout the course of the week. They just happen. Like you said, a team, in a session, they might get on a run, we might get on a run, but it's a long week, and handling those moments, I'd say, is different than maybe a stroke play event, guys going out there, and they're more intense moments quickly.
Okay, Todd, you got another?
As well as you guys both know the golfers who are playing for you in their games, how much do the analytics actually come into play? And Jim, kind of specifically for you, as long as you've been doing this, you have to chuckle sometimes at the analytics that you look at now compared to how pairings were made years ago.
Yeah. I think early in my career, I was a guy that tried to break down the golf course for the team. I came up with kind of alternate shot ideas. Like, I enjoyed that side of it, although I wasn't really using analytics, and I didn't use analytics for my game for most of my career. But the first time that we kind of brought a team on for the U.S. side was 2016 at Hazeltine, and I kind of sat through those first meetings with Davis as his assistant, And I think it's just a process that we've built up over time. I think that our team kind of trusts, our analytics team trusts us as captains now as far as what we see and the advice that we can give, and vice versa. We've really, kind of leaned on them, and I think built a process that we're comfortable with. I think each and every year I get a lot more comfortable with them and the information that they are able to handle for us. And there's things that I really enjoy and like and that are very, very useful in the process. But at the end of the day, we still, I still feel like I've got 4 amazing assistants that their eyes and their ears and the information that they give me is extremely critical. And I think we're finding a way to kind of blend the two of those very well.
Mike, just to follow that up, the Americans get to see these pairings every year, kind of form these pairings. Is it a little bit more of a challenge for you guys because you don't get as many bites of the apple from that standpoint?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think just having that knowledge base of seeing that every year, see what works each and every year is probably more useful. Where we every 2 years maybe don't get to see that, so you have more information to help form those pairings and see what works and maybe what doesn't. But yeah, similar to Jim, we've been comfortable using our analytics guys. I think since 2019, Ernie brought them on board, and they're familiar with me and now and our other assistants. And same thing, I lean on my assistants as well, lean on my gut on certain things when we're maybe on the fence. And but it's very important, if you go back to what you referenced, way back in the day, it's like, Weirzy hits it a little bit shorter, maybe he gets the ball in play, and you go with the longer guy like Ernie and put him in play and 4-ball, and then alternate shot. You maybe want 2 guys that are, it was kind of a little bit of a guess. Sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't. It's just nice. It's just the evolution of sport in general and all sports. I mean, all sports are using them. Talking to Marty St. Louis yesterday, the coach of the Montreal Canadiens, talked a little bit about analytics, how they use that now for so many things in hockey. So it's just throughout sports now.
The Black.
Hey, Mike, just to your left. You mentioned talking to Hitchcock and Cooper. I'm just wondering what some of your big takeaways were from those conversations. What really stuck with you about bringing a group together in such a short time?
I think one thing I'll share maybe is just the family aspect. Let's say I'll just say Team Canada. In fact, and even a coach from before told me, like some of the Team Canadas, these guys, they're all in different teams. They're getting together for the Olympics. Some guys like each other, some guys don't, but they got to blend for those couple of weeks. And I think when you involve the kids, the wives, the team, and make it all feel like a big family, that was something I took away. That seemed to be a common theme with all the coaches that I talked to, and that's what we've tried to do. Is really that's one thing I'll share, that we've tried to make it everybody feel included and be part of it.
Were there any other coaches you reached out to, or were they the 2 main guys?
Well, Doug Armstrong, GM St. Louis Blues, is a good friend of mine. He's from Sarnia. Talking to him about it, he's been part of Team Canada now for a number of cups or a number of Olympics now, and then this 4 Nations Cups this year, I should say, that's upcoming. So he had some great insights too. So those guys are great. Slats, Glenn Sather, down in Palm Springs. We played in Palm Springs. Had remember the old Edmonton coach, Glenn Sather, with Gretz. Dr. Gretz. I mean, I've just kind of picked guys' brains a little bit here and there.
Okay, got a couple more over here.
Mike, you're captain here this week, and more than 20 years ago, you won the Masters. How you consider this win have an influence for the rest of your life?
I think, Jim knows when you win a major championship, the pure golf fans know that you won LA or you won Palm Springs or you won certain events around. That you get more well known from the casual golf fans anywhere you go, because they see maybe a major on TV and they see that, so there's a little bit more recognition, I guess, when you win a major. And was the question how it influenced my life? If I could ask again? Yeah. I mean, I think big impact. Personally, I think to go to the Masters every year, to know that I can be at that special tournament every year, bring my family, see all the greats of the game, talking about bridging gaps, you know, all the different generations. That's just really special to be part of that. And if I'd finished one shot higher, wouldn't have had that. So that's how close the margins are in this game, and I know that. So I know I'm lucky and grateful that that happened for me. So you know, big change when you win a major championship.
Question for Mike. In 2007, you were the only Canadian on the field, of course. Throughout the years at the President's Cup, there's been sometimes two, sometimes one, sometimes no Canadians at all. Three of them are going to tee off on Thursday. Well, is it just a matter that it's on Canadians' fault, or does it say anything about the health of golf in Canada?
I think it's more of the health of golf in Canada. We have so many players now that are doing well on the PGA Tour. I feel like the country is, you know, we love golf. You know, we're obviously known as a hockey country, but we love golf up here, and as you know, and we've got a lot of great players, a lot of great talent coming up. Shows what Golf Canada has done with their development program. That's really gotten on a certain high level. You know, I think the Australian Institute of Sport and what Sweden was doing for a long time with the benchmarks. Now Golf Canada, what they're doing with their development is right there, probably even exceeding. So they've done a great job, and I think we'll continue to see more and more players get on the PGA Tour, and more different players being on cups down the road. You know, that's the way I see it going. So it's exciting to have three. That's the most ever, and hopefully that continues.
Okay. We'll go to FD. We got time for a couple more.
Am I curious on this topic? There's three Canadians in the field. You've played here in 2007 in this memorable match against Tiger Woods.
Yes.
I'm curious about the advice you will provide to Mac, Corey, and Taylor on how to handle everything out there in the heat of the moment.
I haven't really had any individual talks with those guys. Not to say that I won't, but you know, I think they're ready for the moment. You know, I think Mac's the only rookie on the team. You know, Taylor and Corey got to play last time in Charlotte, but this is at home in front of your home fans. And I guess for me, I used the energy in a positive way. When I was here in 2007, I didn't take it as pressure. I took it as just embrace it. This is, I don't know if I'll ever have this chance again to play in front of my home country fans. So I just try to embrace it. And so that'll probably be most of the message is enjoy yourself.
Okay. Then we'll wrap it up here in the back.
Jim, Keegan has often always said himself that he didn't feel like maybe he had some of the close relationships that could have gotten him on teams in the past. How have you seen him, I guess, just this week and as he's getting ready for his Ryder Cup role kind of in the team room, what he's like as also one of the older players on your team?
Yeah, it's funny. What is he, like 38? He's just ancient. Yeah. I remember things just started to hurt so much when I was 38, right?
Oh, yeah.
No, I think, you know, he lives down there in South Florida amongst a lot of different players. He sees Pat, he sees Xander. There's a number of guys that live in that area that he practices around. A lot of them spend a lot of time at Grove, and you know, I think we've got some good partners for him this week. And you know, it was interesting. You know, started out knowing kind of always reserved a spot, and I think a lot of our guys have always kind of reserved a spot as a captain for the Ryder Cup, for the President's Cup. You know, Zach. I was very thankful that he brought me on his staff last year. It helps you be around some guys maybe I haven't seen on prior teams that are now on this one. You get to know the guys a little bit better, see how the pairings work, kind of see the inner workings of the team room. And so, you know, with Keegan, I kind of wanted him to be an assistant captain, but, you know, he just had to go and play so darn good, the BMW, and kind of lead from wire to wire and kind of earn a spot on the team in my mind. And so we've kind of taken those assistant duties away from him and let him focus on kind of integrating himself amongst his teammates, being a leader on that team, like you said, with kind of a veteran status, and everyone knows he's the captain next year as well. So it's been fun. It's been a good process, and I've tried to mix up some pairings for these guys in practice and let them all kind of hang out and be together.
Okay. All right. Before we close, I would be remiss not to recognize one of our national golf writers, Ron Green Jr., Global Golf Post, is not here this week. His father, Ron Green Sr., passed away last week at the age of 95. Sr. was far and away one of the great golf writers of multiple generations. I would say he brought our sport and our players to life with his words. Senior, you will be missed. Ron, you and the family are in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, enjoy it. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yep.